Hi, I'm Christina Mueller, and I'm here with Omer Artun, and he is with Meyhouse Restaurants in the San Francisco Bay Area. And we're going to do something of a dive into Turkish cooking today. Omer, let's start at the beginning. You are the executive chef at Meyhouse Restaurant, and you have restaurants in Palo Alto and Sunnyvale, right?
Correct. And soon opening in San Ramon as well.
San Ramon?
Yes, we're opening another one in San Ramon in February.
Oh, so the Far East Bay. You brave.
Thank you.
Let's start at the beginning. What was your path into cooking and the restaurant business? How did that all get started?
So it started as an uh, amateur game. I loved cooking since I was in middle school and cooked, throughout my life, through grad school and so forth. I grew up in an engineer family, and my aunt was a great cook. My mom was not. So I used to go to my aunt's house to, hang out, doing my homework and so forth. And I got the passion for cooking there. And I cooked all my life, and I started more and more, not professionally, but learned techniques and recipes, and I love the anthropology of cooking, and or the archaeology, whatever you want to call it,
Yeah.
both the social aspect and the and I also, being a scientist, I have a PhD in physics and neuroscience.
Oh, so you
Um,
had the
I,
opportunity for your parents to be super proud of you as a scientist before you.
yes, yes. Before I got into this, so I love the technical aspects of things. Trying to decode, like, generations of, like, why people do things, like, why people do what they do. Because a lot of times there's a lot of knowledge that gets transferred from generation to generation, and they always have this, like, or my grandma used to do it this way, and that's why I do it this way. But there are actually, things that happen that are extremely important, details, especially with simple recipes that make a difference. So I try to decode those and, try to capture, and um, uh, and I've done that for many years. While I was doing my career,
Yeah.
after my PhD, I worked at, McKinsey, and then I started my own tech company, and then ran it for, almost 20 years, and then sold it. And after I sold it, I said, okay, now I want to do something completely different.
And
I
was
don't
that
want to
all
sit
in
in front of it.
California? Was that all
It was
happening?
all in California, yes. I started my company in Connecticut and then moved it out to the Bay Area, got funding from, top VCs like Sequoia, Mayfield, and so forth, and then grew the company. And in 2019, I sold it. And then right at that time, right before I sold it, I, had this passion to do something with food. So I started in 2017 doing pop-ups. So I would just rent a place with a kitchen. So it would be like a winery with a kitchen. And I would basically sell tickets for like 150 people, and then do a one night pop up. So, and I did like 10 of those things. And then, that gave me the confidence that, okay, like, I have something that's of interest to people.
Yeah.
So then with my partner, I teamed up with my partner, Koray, and we opened our first place in 2019 in Sunnyvale. And then from there, it became very popular and it grew. And then we opened in 2023 in, Palo Alto, and then
Right.
now we're opening another one.
So
This,
what was, I mean, how did you make that transition from, physics essentially to running a kitchen? I mean, that's something that people train, they come in at the dishwasher level, for example, and work their way up. So how did you guys make that happen?
I mean, there are a couple of things. One is, uh, I'm, my claim to fame is the recipes and the taste and uh, what people want. And then, of course, like, from an execution perspective, you need people who grew up in the kitchen. You need people that can do this day in and day out. Like, I can't go and work, 12-hour shifts, like, for 6 days a week. And I don't know how to run the kitchen professionally like other people do. And that's where I, partner up with our our sous chefs to
Okay.
figure out like how that whole operation, should run.
Okay.
And luckily we have a great, I have a great executive sous chef that Marcel who runs the whole thing, impeccably.
Wonderful. Well, that's great news.
Yeah.
Um,
And being an engineer and growing up in an engineer thing, uh, less people realize that, people think that like running a kitchen is uh, is like you're cooking and all that. But kitchen is actually, you need to think of it as a factory. So you have raw goods coming in, and then you have something going out to the diners. Uh, and it's much more complex than, running a factory of, building automobiles, right? Like when you're building an automobile, you can buy parts, it can sit in a warehouse for, years and nothing will happen.
right.
And the car can sit in the parking lot, nothing would happen. Whereas in food, the goods that you buy, have a lifespan of like 2 to 5 days. And then once it comes out the kitchen, it's like 2 to 5 minutes, right? So you need to have a much more kind of an engineering approach to the whole running process. So even though, I rely on uh, the people that have done this for all their lives, I still have a lot of input in terms of, operational efficiency and how both technology and engineering can improve the cooking process
Yeah,
or
that's a
the
really
restaurant
good
process.
point. Yeah. We're not going to spend our time talking about that process. We're going to talk more about taste and more about flavor. So, um, is there a dish that you would consider a signature of yours or a signature of the restaurant?
Um, I think for everything is my creation, so I love all of them, equally, and everyone has a little bit of a special memory for me or a special taste. But one thing that I think people love, or two things that people love, is one is called kapolu, which is like an eggplant dish, which is a meze, and then the other one is the Turkmen mantı that we do. I think people love that as a comfort food.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about the Monty a little bit further on, but first I wanted to clarify the name of Mayhouse. So, when I did a little bit of research on Turkish food, because I've eaten it many times and I've studied the region around the Black Sea and the region around the Caspian Sea, and I came across this word that's meyhan, or am I pronouncing it right?
Meyhane, yeah, meyhane,
Meyhane.
meyhane, yeah,
Mm, So I was like, okay, what is a meyhane? And is
yeah.
that an anglicized version of Mayhouse?
Yes, it is. It is a meyhane. I mean, the meyhouse comes from the word meyhane. Mey in Farsi means wine. Hane means house, literally house. So in the old day, and it basically came into Turkish as a word. So meyhane means it's like a wine house. It's a tavern of sorts, where people go in the evening and have a drink and a few uh, uh, bites to eat on the way to home from work. This
Hmm.
is like in the Ottoman times, usually run by the non-Muslim population of, Armenians, Rum Greeks, or the Sephardic Jews.
The wine
And it
drinkers.
was, yeah, exactly. And so it was basically a wine house for, and it came with, it was more of like a social thing where people who worked during the day, especially men, of course, when they're going home, they stop by and meet friends, have a few drinks, and then go home. And they wouldn't eat a full meal. It was usually like small meze plates and so forth.
Hmm.
And then, of course, like after, in the modern times, you know, it became like a place where, everybody comes, like, women, men, all together. And it basically became a gathering place for uh, friends to, converse, over dinner, over small plates, over a long period of time. So it's not meant to be a simple kind of eat and leave kind of thing. It's
Hmm.
not big plated foods. It's small mezes that are enjoyed with long drinks like rakı or wine slowly sipped over, and the conversation is as important as the meal, as important as drinking, you know,
Yep.
and the music in the background.
You need those components to really make it a complete experience.
Correct.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. I love that about restaurants. I think that, well, I can't speak for the younger generation, but my generation I know finds real value in sitting and eating together and socializing. Food is
Yeah.
social. Yeah.
Food is social. Yeah. That's why most of our plates are share plates. And that's why, for example, we have a jazz club in at Mayhouse, and we'll have it in San Ramon as well. The music is also a part of our program. It's not just a restaurant, but it's a cultural gathering place.
I love it.
Yeah.
So when I visited and had, was I there for lunch or dinner? I can't remember, but my sense is that the food is sort of Western Turkish, more Aegean facing. But maybe that's not the case. Maybe it's more, broad-based Turkish food.
It's It's more broad-based Turkish food. So there are three influences in our menu. One is the Istanbul cuisine, which is, a lot of mezes are uh, inherited by the non-Muslim population. Like I said, the Rum Greeks, the Sephardic Jews, and Armenians, and they had different traditions of food
Hmm.
due to, for example, Lent and so forth. There's a lot of dishes that are created for Lent where they can't have, for example, they can't have, it's not meat, but they can't have things with blood in them.
Mm.
So there's lots of things that are olive oil braised, or there's lots of crustaceans that they eat and so forth, which is bloodless uh, creatures. So there's a lot of dishes that come from that. That's number one. From the Aegean side, yes, there's lots of fish and those type of dishes that we have, like about a third of our menu.
Hmm.
And my family is from the West Coast, um, a place called Milas, which is on the coast of Aegean coast.
Yeah.
And then my mother's side is from uh, Antioch. Antioch is an ancient city near Syria, near Aleppo.
So the other
And
side
Aleppo,
of Turkey entirely.
yeah, exactly, southeast of Turkey,
Hmm.
which has completely different taste profile. And you might or might not know Aleppo is the main city there, and parts of Aleppo kind of stayed in Turkey, like Antep, Urfa, Suruc, Marash, and Antioch. And Aleppo was the capital, one of the largest cities in the old Roman times, because it was the end of the Silk Road, and it was the port town coming from Asia
Yeah.
before the Suez Canal opened.
Mm.
So
That's fascinating.
great, great, and it's like the top of Mesopotamia, so it's where the farming started. It's very kind of sunny, and it has everything together.
Well, and I would also say that Aleppo is, I know it mostly for its peppers, its
Yes,
chilies.
that's
Yeah.
very famous. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. That's why, like, things from Southeast has a lot of like red elements in it, which comes from the Aleppo pepper.
Yep. And it's just because we're so accustomed to Mexican peppers here in California.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Um, Aleppo, I think, has a subtler profile. Like I think of it more closely akin to like Hungarian paprika, which is a pepper. It has spice, but it doesn't, punch you in the face.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Um, Turkey's this huge country. There's so many food traditions, and when you look at the broader region, there's even more food traditions. I mean, do you think of the cuisine as Turkish at May House, or does each dish kind of express something specific about the country? Or is it Californicated? Has it been like,
I don't like, I mean, people say like, oh, this is Turkish, this is Greek, this is Armenian, this is like whatever. I don't subscribe to that kind of nationality of food.
Mm,
I
mhm.
subscribe to the regionality of food. So
Yeah,
this food is from this region. Like I mean, if when you go to Aleppo, the pepper becomes more prominent because it was in the spice route. You have a lot of spices that are used liberally than compared to like on the West Coast in the Aegean coast, which is just oregano, lemon, and garlic, right? Like
right.
there's not much more different stuff. So I feel like food. tastes are regional, not, specific to a country or a population group. Although there are variations to that. So there are definitely things that belong to certain groups. Like, for example, eggplants came with the Sephardic Jews in the 15th century, because they came from Spain, and that's where like they get the eggplants from America,
Mhm.
and that's who they introduced. So they have a lot of eggplant dishes, or some of the eggplant dishes, can be, contributed to them. But does it mean that it's a Jewish food, or it's whatever, Ottoman food, or Istanbul food, or whatever? Like I don't really subscribe to that. But they're definitely the cuisine is different in around the different areas of Turkey, and it's related to people who live there, and how it evolved.
Well, you're cooking in California as well. So, my sense of the food. So, I had, for example, when I was there, I had an artichoke poached in olive oil, and it was the most beautiful artichoke I've seen. And I was like, wow. And then there's some branzino that's touched with red peppercorns, which red peppercorns I think of as, being more Sichuan. You had sheep's milk with pistachio, oregano, and olive oil, which is definitely more on that Aegean profile, like you were
Yeah,
talking about. So I think that, when you globalize a cuisine, it just kind of brings in these new flavors and these little touches from what you experience in the place where you're cooking the cuisine, which is
yeah,
California. So
yeah, exactly.
yeah, it's
And
a
and these are all traditional things. None of these things are like some people, when you go to like Michelin star places, like they create foods, they create different things. I'm on the opposite scale. Like I like to do the best version of something that's already been done,
yep,
rather than like, my goal, my research and effort goes into perfecting something that has been done before. Like, when you're poaching something with olive oil, you know, uh, I mean, it's very simple, right? Like it was basically like a piece of artichoke bottoms, poached in olive oil. But there's a lot of different things you can do, and it's not that easy because everything is so plain. When you have something that plain and you're not mixing bunch of stuff together or pureeing and adding cream and all that into it, it actually is harder to, you know, keep the ingredients shine,
yeah,
make the ingredients shine.
yeah.
Um, so I focus on that, like making some simple things, taste exquisite, rather than, coming up with this kind of Michelin star game, which
Yes.
I personally don't like.
Well, and I think that's right in line with California cuisine. You want to do
Correct.
little as possible to make the beautiful artichoke be its most
Shine.
perfect self.
Yes, yes, absolutely. I mean, the only touch that I did, for example, for the artichoke, which is not traditional in Turkey, which I think goes well with the theme of, the Aegean cuisine,
Yeah.
was I put a poached shrimp on top of it, for example, which goes really well with the artichoke, and it doesn't break the tradition, but it's something interesting. And I completely agree with you. Like Californian cuisine is very much in line with, or Californian approach is very much in line with the Mediterranean approach. I mean, that's what California cuisine came from
Yeah.
to
Very
start with.
true.
Yeah.
Very true. So I want to pivot because I do want to spend some time talking about the amazing dumplings that you have, and they're called Manti, right?
Yeah. Correct.
Okay. So on your menu, I believe they're called Turkmen Manti, and I had to look
Correct.
up Turkmen because Turkey is obviously its own country, and then there's Turkmenistan. And so
That's
then I
correct.
got a little bit confused because Turkmenistan is a little bit further east. It's on the far eastern side of Turkey. I think you have to pass over Iran to actually get there.
Yeah.
And another sea, you have the Caspian Sea as opposed to the Black Sea, and the Aegean, which are where Turkey is located. So
Right.
can maybe we can just sort of parse out the difference here between
Yeah.
Turkmen and Turkey.
Super. So the word mante comes from something that's wrapped, right? Like in Turkish, we have manto. Manto means like a something you wear, like a basically a jacket.
Yeah.
So mantı, the mantı exists in all of the Turkic and Mongolian cultures, and all the way from even if you go to like Korea, they have mando, which is like the same thing as mantı. Um, you know, all the cultures like from Eastern all the way to Mongolia, all the way to Turkey.
Yeah.
Uh, it's a staple food. So the mantı that we make in Turkey is slightly different. Turkish mantı, which is like smaller and it's closed by hand and it's like really really small. I would say it's about the real traditional ones is about a half inch in size
That
and
is
it's
tiny.
closed. It's tiny. So and I didn't want to buy like, and they make it with machines and so forth. And I didn't want to buy machine made, mante, and making it by hand, with the amount of stuff we sell is impossible from a labor and cost perspective. So uh, I was visiting my cousin in Turkey, and they had somebody who worked in their house was from Turkmenistan, and she said, "Okay, let me make you Turkmeni mantı." And Turkmeni mantı is, unlike it's boiled, which is Turkish traditional mantı is boiled in water because it's completely closed.
Yeah.
Uh, the Turkmen mantı is steamed, and it's slightly bigger, and it's closed by hand in a specific shape. And the ingredients are pretty much the same. It's still eaten with yogurt. It still, has ground beef and onions in it as the primary thing. But so when I ate that, I said, okay, like this is something that we can do, in a commercial environment, and I think people would love it because it's still mantı, but it's something slightly different, and it's still traditional coming from a Turkic kind of culture.
Okay, so the landmass obviously from Turkey to Korea is one. Like you
Yeah,
you can walk the whole way. You don't
that's
have
right.
to get on a boat.
That's right.
And obviously the Silk Road, is historically carried things west and east. And
Yeah,
I love this idea that you can take a dumpling, which exists, of course, in China, all along, everywhere in China,
yeah,
it's a form of
yeah,
dumpling. And then you can take it, over this land bridge and
yeah,
turn it into something much smaller, really, fractionally smaller than a South Chinese dumpling,
yeah.
and make it into something completely unique by putting different spices in there and serving it with yogurt.
Yeah, I mean, it's a platform. Like if you think about the different platforms of food, pizza is a platform. Every culture has some form of
Empanada.
a flatbread. Empanada is a platform.
Yeah.
All of these things, like manta is a platform as well. Like you can fill it up with anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's in Turkey, it's very common. It's not fast food, but it's comfort food.
Hmm.
And it's a festive food where families sometimes make it together with children and so forth. Like I remember making it with my aunts. Of course, we would sit and make for hours and then eat in 10 minutes, of course. Um, and everybody, it, it, it's a, it's a food that people like, uh, go crazy about. It's a comfort food that all the kids love,
Yeah.
growing up, adults love. It's an amazing taste.
Now, are yours are stuffed or not stuffed?
It is stuffed, of
It
course.
is
It's
stuffed. Okay.
stuffed with ground beef and onions.
Ground beef and onion. And then you have the dumpling wrapper, and then you drizzle it with paprika butter
Yes, we drizzle it with paprika butter and mint.
and mint.
And then usually they pour yogurt sauce on top,
Hmm.
and slightly differently, I put the yogurt underneath
Hmm.
so that the dumplings kind of look a little better,
Yeah,
when it's served. So
they
the
shine.
presentation, they shine through. Yeah.
They really do. And I know that you have a story behind your yogurt too, because you brought
Yes.
the starter over from Turkey, no?
Correct. Yes. So there's uh, in Antep, there's a famous restaurant called Imam Çağdaş, which is like an amazing place. So I went there in 2013, and I loved the yogurt there. It was, and before that, my culture was I went to Erzurum, which is near the Russian border, to a little town, and this was 1994. I brought the yogurt then, and then in 2013, and I used that until 2013, and then I went to Antep and got the yogurt culture there, and then every 2 days we make about probably 10 gallons of yogurt, ourselves in the
Wow.
restaurant. So, um,
You just keep a little piece from each batch and then use that to
yes.
start the next batch.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Exactly. It's super easy to make. I don't even know why people buy yogurt because it takes like literally 2 minutes of work time and it's 4 times less expensive. I mean, a quart of yogurt is like $8 at the store.
Yeah.
A gallon of milk is $8. So it's like you make 4 times
Well, you're
and
inspiring me to start my own yogurt business.
it's super easy and it's live cultures. Like you get much more benefit from probiotics and so forth. I don't know why people don't do it. I mean, you really don't need to do much. You just, heat up the milk, let it cool down to like 120 Fahrenheit, put in a spoonful from the previous batch, and then stick it in the oven. Most of the ovens now come with bread proofing
Yeah.
setting. That's it. 3, 4 hours, you're done.
And you're done. Yeah.
That's it. I mean, yeah.
But with the Monty themselves, you steam them. They're not fried, right? So they have a softer
Correct.
character. Yeah.
Correct. They're fried. I mean, sorry, they're steamed. They're not fried at all.
Yeah.
And like I said, the traditional Turkish dumplings are completely closed.
Yeah.
So they're boiled. They're smaller and boiled, but these ones are not boiled.
Yeah.
Uh, and then yeah, I mean and then it's drizzled and so forth.
Yeah. Well, I think it's an exciting dish. It's a dish that I want to come back and bring my kids to try. I don't know if I've ever told you particularly this story, but there's a Turkish restaurant not far from where I grew up in New Jersey, and they
Hmm.
have Monty on the menu. And when I took
Yes.
my kids for the first time, my son was not expecting the garlic yogurt at all.
Uh,
He was because he's always had pasta with, either pesto sauce or red
yeah,
sauce or
yeah, yeah.
olive oil sauce. So he was very confused. But once he understood what it was and he ate it, he hasn't gone back to red sauce. He prefers yogurt.
The yogurt sauce. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yogurt is something very interesting. I think if you say like, how can you tell like without, if people showed you pictures and you said like what type of food it is, once you see yogurt, it's like, okay, this got to be Turkish.
Yeah.
I think we have like more yogurt dishes than any other, cuisine,
Yeah.
I would say.
Well, and it's a beautiful thing. Do you use sheep milk or cow milk for your yogurt?
Cow milk. Yeah, cow milk. Sheep milk, I mean, we use organic cow milk, and yeah, you can't, I mean, the sheep milk is so expensive and it's impossible to get.
Well, it's much harder to get milk from a sheep than from a cow. They just have much less.
Yeah. I
So,
mean, the buffalo milk is even better for
yeah,
making yogurt.
yeah,
And there's actually a producer in California, I think like an Egyptian family has a herd of buffaloes near Sacramento area. Uh, and I bought a couple of times. I bought milk from them and made yogurt, and it's just incredible. Like they make the buffalo mozzarella.
hmm.
If you make milk, I mean yogurt from buffalo milk, it's incredible. Like it's much
The
much
milk fat
denser.
percentage is higher,
Milk
isn't
fat
it?
percent, both the fat percentage is higher, plus the milk solids are
Yeah,
more.
yeah,
So it becomes like it's incredible. But it's like, a milk, an organic milk is like, I don't know, $7, $8 a gallon. This one is like $20 a gallon,
yeah.
buffalo milk. Yeah, it's
There's a
expensive.
provider in Sonoma as well, but I think they are just making gelato now. They had tried to do cheese and they shifted back to gelato because that was a very understandable product for people. So,
Correct. Yes.
you do what you can.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this has been a super interesting conversation, Omer. I'm so glad that you were able to be on my podcast, and I look forward to tasting more of your work.
Please do. Would love to see you back with your kids.
Oh, I'd love it. I'm sure they love it too. All right. Thanks,
All
Omer.
right. You're welcome.